In chapter 14, John sees a lamb standing on Mount Zion with his 144,000 chosen, all with God's name written on their foreheads. Here we see a sun glyph on the forehead of the angel, while the name Yahweh, God's name, is written on the angel's chest, a detail that is more clearly seen in the Paul Foster case deck. John hears a voice from heaven, like many waters, and harpers harping, singing to God a new song that only the chosen can sing, the 144,000 virginal pure ones, all protected by God. 3 angels deliver announcements. The first announces the Gospels, saying to worship the one God that made heaven and earth and sea and fountains. The second announces doom for the fallen Babylon, who made all nations drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. The third announces damnation for all those who worship the beast, and they receive the mark of the beast on their foreheads. And this is where the sun glyph in the temperance card fits perfectly, because of the sun's connection with Apollo, or Apollyon, the satanic being mentioned in Revelation 9. And those who receive the mark of the beast on their foreheads will drink of the wine of the wrath of God, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation. Then Jesus is seen sitting on a cloud with a golden crown and a sickle at hand, and there is also an angel with a sickle at hand, and they reap the harvest until blood comes spilling out of the winepress, across many hundreds of miles. Chapter 15 is the shortest chapter, when everything's about to hit the fan, when judgment and worship are going on simultaneously. One group of angels proclaim doom, while another sings the praises of God, although this card focuses almost exclusively on the doom aspect. And the reason for that is because this card has to fit with other parts of the Bible, other verses and other chapters. The chapter opens stating that now the time of mercy has come to a close. While those who've gotten victory over the beast sing God's praises, there are 7 angels that are seen holding the 7 last plagues filled with the wrath of God. One of the 4 beasts gives to the 7 angels 7 vials full of God's wrath. And from now on, there's no one that could enter the heavenly temple until the 7 plagues have ended. In chapter 16, again we have all hell breaking loose. And even though there's talk here of a last chance at repentance, none of that is really going on. Sort of like Pharaoh in Exodus, whose heart has been made to harden after the 6th plague, even though theoretically repentance was still possible. A great voice is heard coming out of the heavenly temple, commanding the angels to pour the 7 vials of the wrath of God on the whole earth, resulting in completely darkened skies and sores and blood-filled seas and rivers and fountains, and then the power to scorch mankind with fire. And there are 3 unclean spirits that come out of the mouth of the dragon and the beast and the false prophet. And there are voices coming out of the skies, and thunders and lightnings and earthquakes, as has not occurred since men have been on earth. And the cities fall all over the world, and the islands flee, and the mountains are nowhere to be found, and a great hail comes down from heaven. This card, the Tower, this is the card I like to call the Great Editor because it removes everything that's superfluous. And it's reminiscent of Hebrews 12:27 in the New Testament, where they say the removing of those things that are shaken, as of things that are made, that those things which cannot be shaken may remain. Basically the Great Editor that removes the fat until only what is essential remains. In chapter 17 we have the coming of the harlot's New World Order, Mystery Babylon, as the negative spiritual center of the world, or as I like to call it, the inverted spiritual center of the world, a spirituality ruled by idolatry that is destroyed by the beast. One of the 7 angels shows John the mother of harlots, that is Mystery Babylon the Great, who sits on many waters, which had been foreshadowed in Jeremiah chapter 3 verses 6 through 9. In the wilderness there's a scarlet beast, and the harlot is seen riding on it. Here is a star. The beast has 7 heads and 10 horns. And since personally I remember numbers pretty well, I use all the tips of the stars, which add up to 64, and 6 plus 4 equals 10. But that's kind of a stretch. Then the angel tells John that 7 heads are really mountains, and that the 10 horns are future kings, and then the waters she sits on represent the nations and the multitudes. And the harlot is seen drinking of the blood of the saints from her golden cup. Then we're told that there are 7 kings, as we could see the 7 stars around the big star, 5 of which have fallen, 1 is, the other not yet. And the beast that was and is not, even he is the 8th. And he is of the 7. A confusing statement, but nevertheless there are 7 small stars, and the 8th, the large star at the center, could be said to be of the 7. Then it says that the 10 horns hate the harlot, that woman who is the great city, the woman who is Mystery Babylon, and the 10 horns are to make the harlot desolate and naked, and they are to eat her flesh. And we have to remember here that in every card that they're either seen right side up or upside down, and in this case the star in this chapter of Revelation is seen upside down. So we see the naked woman here as something negative, but she could also represent something positive in other chapters of the Bible, in her right side up state, as someone vulnerable or someone saintly. So we always have to remember that when looking at every card, at every chapter of the Bible and every card, that it's either seen either right side up or upside down being negative and right side up being positive.